hopped up on stage, sir. I need that bounce. I need that energy.
Oh, you've got that bounce.
I promise I do not.
You do.
Okay. For you, I will have that bounce forevermore. Thank you very, very much. How are you doing today?
I'm delightful. I'm very happy to be here.
Yes. Make some noise here. We are so lucky that you're ending your wild weekend with us. I know you were at another show earlier. We're capping it off the best place possible, Cleveland, Ohio.
I made a point of saying I was only going to do this weekend if I could finish in Cleveland, Ohio.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what
but
I'm
don't
talking
tell Kansas City.
No. I mean, no. It's not that we're filming it and sending it to them right now, but we are.
Okay.
But no, I think we kind of have to jump right into the beginning of all this. I think for Geek Spaces, origin stories are everything.
Okay.
And so I got to know your origin story as an actor. You were like, what, 3 years old and kind of got like this inclination that you wanted to act?
Yeah, I know.
What were you watching that gave you that feeling?
What do you think I was watching?
Who knows the answer to that?
No, it's a very ridiculous story and it doesn't really make sense. But I was 3 years old and I watched John Pertwee turn into Tom Baker.
Yes.
And I was so kind of entranced by this. And I was 3 years old. I mean, I have to be 3 years old because I can work out when it was on TV.
Right.
And even if there was a repeat, there might have been a repeat because Doctor Who used to do, before the next season started, used to repeat some of the season before. So, but even then I don't think I was even 4.
Wow.
And now, having had children of that age, that feels very unlikely.
Well, no. It sounds very, I don't know, Time Lordish. It just kind of makes sense.
Sure, it's very timey-wimey, but I was 3, and that's certainly when the first, obviously the idea matured, but I remember having a conversation going, that's cool, what is it? And my parents explaining that actors pretended and told the stories.
Right.
And in that moment going, well, I'll do that then. It just felt very straightforward and very obvious to me.
Right.
And then as I grew up, the idea kind of grew up with me, and here I am, 50 years later.
I think we're absolutely lucky in the fact that that's kind of the way this has gone. In the midst of that growth, though, you kind of found yourself in different places. Stage, TV, film. What was it like to bring kind of that theatricality to your resume? Like to kind of figure out how to be an actor. What was that like?
I mean, you don't really have a sort of I didn't have a sort of master plan. I just I got myself to drama school.
Right.
I didn't know actors, I didn't know what else you did, so I just assumed you went to drama school because I'd heard that you could do that. There was one in Glasgow, which wasn't far from my house, so I did that. I came out, I got spat out the other end of it, and the first job I got was in theatre, was touring around Scotland in a van, doing a Bertolt Brecht play. And
Wait, say that one more time.
A Bertolt Brecht play?
You got it. That back of the throat is so good. I couldn't do it.
I think German and Scottish have a lot of similar sounds formed with saliva. So I by chance really, I just want to get a job.
I mean, but you did so well within that I think it's kind of serendipitous that you end up here, because it's one thing to say I want to be an actor. It's another thing to kind of get into the motions of doing so.
Yeah.
But when you get to the nitty-gritty, the work of it, being an actor is absolutely who you are. And I think that's kind of something that we see in all of your performances. Am I right?
Thank you. I mean, I like doing it. So, and I've been very, because especially if you don't know actors growing up, everyone just goes, oh, you can't do that. That's not a real job.
It's not a thing.
And then, of course, statistically, you're very unlikely to be able to make a living out of it because there are too many of us and we're all chasing too few jobs, and that's so you just think, I just want to make a living. I want to be able to not prove everyone wrong. I want to be able to do that.
Of course.
So I don't have to go off and do something else.
But also prove them wrong.
Well, yeah, I guess, maybe. But therefore, there's no real sort of master plan. It's just, I'll do one job and then hopefully I'll get another one, and then hopefully I'll get another one, and then maybe eventually I'll be able to, buy socks.
Hopefully you can get a couple of those now.
I now have socks. I have, yes.
Did you have any particular teachers that were really influential along the way that kind of helped you figure out your craft?
Going to drama school was like being immersed in a vat of everything I dreamt of, really. We didn't have drama at my school. What you would call high school, we didn't have that. So then going to sort of a drama school situation and being surrounded by people who were actors or had been actors or knew what acting was, who had ways of describing techniques and things, it was just a kind of the whole thing was a rush for me. And I loved it. I loved every minute of it. So all those teachers became hugely important to me because they knew stuff I didn't know and they made it possible.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Make some noise for the teachers, y'all.
Come on!
You talk about unsung heroes. They help shape the people that we love, and they're wonderful. Now, this is kind of a cultural thing. You definitely helped make Doctor Who such a prominent figure, a household name here in the States. But in the UK, like, culturally, how does he rank? Like, are we talking like he's up there with like James Bond? Is he up there with like King Arthur? How do you relate Doctor Who?
Yeah, I mean, obviously King Arthur and James Bond very different.
I mean, yes.
Not bad example.
Okay,
yeah, I think in terms of the sort of ubiquity of this
Yes.
sort of cultural heritage,
Right.
everybody in the UK knows what Doctor Who is, even if they don't watch it or don't like it. And the TARDIS, everyone knows what a TARDIS is. It's a shorthand for something that's bigger on the inside.
That's right.
Everyone knows what a Dalek is. It's just something that you grew up with. It's part of the cultural furniture, without a doubt. Yeah.
I love it. Is it something where now, as you have definitely made an indelible mark on pop culture, this becomes something that young actors are like, I want to be Doctor Who one day? We often hear that with folks being cast as James Bond.
Yeah.
Is Doctor Who in that level now
I
because
don't
of
know.
you?
Well, you'd have to ask. I mean, it certainly was for me. You'd have to ask sorts of young actors, I guess. I would have thought so because
Absolutely.
it feels like a significant thing. Yeah.
I love it. How much was your theater work kind of necessary for your wonderful flair in theatrics in Doctor Who as the 10th Doctor specifically?
I have no idea, but well, it's hard to join the dots, isn't it? I don't know. I don't know why.
You're just doing it.
I don't know why one thing leads to another. I don't know what it is about me or things I've done that I've been informed by. It's all a bit of a kind of melting pot, really. But there is a certain theatricality.
I mean, there is.
To the Doctor, for
Yes.
sure. And I did not shy away from that. So I'm he's got flair and flourish and panache. Hasn't he?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, I've talked about some of the great things of you as a good guy, but we adore it when you're a bad guy. A couple of times in film and television, you've been a bit of a baddie.
Okay.
And I have to ask, is there a little dark David that gets to come out and play when you get these roles?
Well, it's very. You look. There's definitely something about exercising or even exorcising the parts of you that lay dormant.
Yes.
That is in a safe environment.
Yes.
Which is kind of a little bit tantalizing. You do things that you would never do.
Would never.
And that you abhor.
Right.
But you get to go, it would feel like this to do this. And there's sort of the imp of the perverse that's in us all that kind of goes, that some days you think, oh, I'm so annoyed by that person who just cut me up in traffic, or that person who just said that stupid comment,
That
or
thing.
that person that thinks it's fine to behave in a certain way. If only I were a certain type of person, I would treat them in a certain type of way.
I would do these things.
But I wouldn't do that.
Never.
But if you get to walk in the shoes of a character who might, there can be something quite liberating
It's kind of
about that.
nice.
Because it's safe, obviously, yeah.
I have to very distinctly point out the Purple Man.
Oh, yeah.
And
Thank you.
still terrified of the Purple Man to this day.
Yeah.
When it came to such a rich, dark character, when you got to kind of do those kind of super evil things, were there any times where you felt like it was a little too far?
Well, it's all, of course, in the context of the very brilliant script.
Of course.
It was very well written, very well realised by Melissa Rosenberg and her team on Jessica
Big
Jones.
shout out to them.
Yes, who really got a way of telling a very grown-up, very dark story about a lot of very difficult issues, actually, within a sort of superhero context. The two things kind of shouldn't go together, and yet they did it with such skill, such deftness, that actually managed to talk about some very difficult subjects, subjects like consent, subjects like childhood abuse, about the ways that people can be broken by the way they're treated as a child, or the way they are when someone meets someone who can be very unhealthy for them. All of which doesn't sound like the sort of material that works in a comic book show,
right?
But they did the two really cleverly, I think.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Kilgrave did some absolutely inexcusable, appalling things.
Just
awful. And yet at the same time, they managed to sketch out why he might have ended up like that. So it wasn't entirely unmotivated. Because he was treated appallingly as a child. He had this thing where everything he requested of someone was immediately granted, which would ruin you.
Absolutely.
I think that would ruin anyone. And therefore, we don't approve of what he does, we don't condone it, but within the complexity of that story, we sort of understood how he got there. And I think that was a really brilliant bit of the writing. Of course, as an actor, trying to play all that and make sense of all that, there's a lot of material there.
Of course,
so I think it was, I mean, yes, he's terrible, he's inexcusable,
right?
And yet you can kind of see how he gets there. And that, I think, that's when drama's really fun. You know, when it's kind of, you're kind of going, I hate this, but I kind of have a certain sympathy for him, which is what teaches us all. I mean, that's what art does. It helps us walk in other people's shoes, whether that's by, you know, the way a novel describes someone, or something in a painting helps us to see what it is to be someone. That's what the arts are for. They're about holding a mirror up to nature, helping us understand what it might be to be someone else, and hopefully all that does is engender empathy and makes us all better people.
I love that. Yes, make the most of it. You don't have those experiences on your own. Obviously, in Jessica Jones, you had Kristen Ritter to work against, but how does that work as an actor, knowing that you have to play such a diabolical character? Does that change the relationship that you have behind the camera?
I don't think so. No, I think hopefully you're all working together to the same end. So you're all. I mean, yes, I had to do some terrible things to Kristen Ritter, but I think we worked together as a team to tell that story rather than in opposition to each other.
Okay. You didn't have the method to kind of like stay away from me so I can treat you so poorly or anything like that.
No, I didn't. I don't think we did do that. I think Kristen's so open and so easy to work with, actually, and she's so brilliant. I mean, I often felt quite scared of her when she turned over Jessica Jones. She's quite fierce.
That's right.
But she's not in real life. She sits behind the camera knitting. She does.
Beware the knitters.
Yeah.
They're out there. They're out there.
But she's got such a presence. She's brilliant.
I love it, I love it. Now, out of curiosity, if you were to rate some of your more antagonizing roles, which one do you think are like your top 3 of kind of bad guy pieces?
Do you know what? It's hard to do because they all come from slightly different places, they all have slightly different roles to play. And I always say this, it's a bit of a joke, but you play sort of villains and you don't play them as villains, obviously. Right. Because very few villains believe they're villains.
Exactly.
The bad guys don't often acknowledge they're the bad guys. And therefore, I think as an actor, your job is to try and make sense of them, you know? Even people who do the most awful things, you're trying to, again, not approve or condone, but sort of join the dots. How does a normal human being end up being a human being who does terrible things to their fellow human beings? And that's the job of it. So I don't think it would feel somehow wrong, because what are you ranking? The sort of the most terrible thing they've done, but then why did they do it? And you know, you start getting, you have a certain, again, I don't want to misinterpret anything. You have and fondness is the wrong word, but your job is to have an empathy with the worst of humanity.
So you have a closest to it that kind of makes it a little difficult to kind of view it from that sort of ranking. But you as David, though, is there a way that you kind of go back and look at your work and go, yeah, no, he was the worst that I've ever been?
Well, again, I sort of don't want to minimize it because it's different if you. I've also played some real life people who've done terrible things,
indeed.
And that again, you don't want. Then you're dealing with the sensitivities of the people whose lives they affected as well.
That's very true.
And also you're looking at them as real living human beings who had very complicated psychologies, who did some terrible things, and you start looking at that objectively. You might wonder why and what were the circumstances and what happened to them that made them do that. And again, you don't want to. It feels wrong to kind of be too. How would you put it? I think you just want to take that seriously and give a certain respect to that, really, without being too kind of flip or judgmental about it. Yeah.
Make some noise, literally, for this wonderful sensitivity that you give, especially when you're talking about the difference between fiction and non-fiction things. I mean, obviously there are people that are truly impacted. So I love that as an actor, you do take that into consideration and sincerity. To really kind of dig into something even more like serious, who do you think is the more famous Scotsman, you or Scrooge McDuck?
It's an interesting question. Scrooge McDuck clearly has the years. I mean,
he's got a few. He's got a few.
900 and something years.
He's up there.
It's up there. Yeah. So he's been around a while, and he doesn't seem to be going anywhere. But then he doesn't live a particularly public life.
He does not. So he could have been dead a long time ago. We wouldn't know.
We wouldn't know, actually.
Sure.
We wouldn't know. But I certainly feel, having managed to merge my existence with Scrooge's existence, I think it's a sort of perfect Scottish bubble right there.
I love it. Absolutely. Yeah. For you doing the voice work of Scrooge on DuckTales, what was that like in terms of bringing this character that has such a rich history to life and making your spin on it something unique?
Oh, it's great because it's such a brilliant character.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and to any of those sort of Disney legacy characters, they mean a lot.
Yes, indeed.
And to get to sort of carry that mantle for a while, you think, yeah, come on, I'm Scrooge McDuck. Yes, I am. I missed DuckTales growing up. I was sort of I was neither young enough or I sort of was a bit too old. It passed me by. And a lot of the guys who played, like Danny and Bobby and Ben, who played the nephews, they're just that bit younger than me, just a tiny little bit. Months. And they were absolutely in the crosshairs they were kids when DuckTales came out the first time. So for them, it was an almost religious experience.
Absolutely.
And I get that. So, but I kind of trundled into it a bit more kind of, there was a show called DuckTales, I remember that. I think I remember that. And then suddenly I realized you were carrying people's childhoods in your hands. And it felt like a great responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility.
Yes, it does. That's a different uncle, though.
But I became very pleased to be carrying that thing, to be, having that mantle,
of course,
resting on my shoulders. Feels like something I'm very, very pleased to be Scrooge McDuck.
I know, you did such a wonderful job. I think any of us that grew up with the original DuckTales, with your casting alone, we knew they were going in the right direction.
Oh, you're very kind.
No,
Thank you.
Am I lying? For what we knew Scrooge to be, and it was great. I would have assumed that you recorded this while swimming in a whole thing of money.
I did.
Okay, see, that's what I needed to know, was to get into that mind space, like how much money did you swim in?
Listen, it didn't have to be real money.
Okay, that's fair.
I can make some imaginative leaps.
Yes.
But I did have a room filled with chocolate coins, which I would swim around in. Yeah. And then after a while, they'd melt. And you would and the children would come in and eat them up. It was a very strange ritual that we developed.
So nasty.
What are you talking about? Yeah.
Just as a weird sort of aside, out of the nephews, did you have a favorite between Huey, Dewey, and Louie? Yeah, I'm asking. Scrooge would do it, okay? Scrooge would have a favorite. We know it.
I'm not sure that Scrooge can tell them apart. I think that's the problem.
That's the best answer.
Are you the one in red or the one in blue? Oh God, you haven't done that in a while. It goes to your throat, doesn't it?
Sorry about that. Sorry.
God, he does. He's a bit raspy.
Yeah, he's a little raspy. He's in there. He's in there. I think it's safe to say that one of the key components of the Doctor that we love so much are the companions. And
don't ask me to pick a favorite.
I would not do that. I would not. I would never.
Can you imagine the trouble I would be in?
Oh my gosh. They would suddenly appear here on stage, all of them just looking at
They would teleport in. Yeah. No, that would get
But
no favorites.
The companion that I'd love to hear about is your friendship with Michael Sheen.
Oh!
He seems to bring out this joy in you that you guys just are grown men who play, and it is the most refreshing thing I think we've ever seen, ever.
You cannot describe Michael Sheen as a grown man. That's
Only a best friend can say that.
That's not fair.
But what's it like to kind of like have this, off-camera relationship with someone as well as on camera, but just kind of someone that you just vibe so well with?
Well, I mean, he's so difficult. He really is. He's such a... He's a lot. He's a lot. So anything you can do to stop him talking about himself, just put him on, give him a script, anything, just to kind of distract him for a minute.
Okay, so he's backstage right now, and so... I'm teasing. But no, it is absolutely refreshing to see you guys kind of just enjoy life. And it's inspiring to everyone that gets to see it, and we appreciate that so very much, because a lot of times when it comes to celebs and their work, that's kind of where it lives. But to see you guys actually have this relationship beyond that is amazing.
Well, it's when we hit lockdown, and then a friend of ours came up with an idea for a show that we might make over Zoom. Finn Glynn, this producer who we've known for years, George and I, and he came to us with this idea, and of course you're going to get Michael and I
Absolutely.
because then it was going to be fun, because we were all locked in our houses, and who knew when we were all going to get out of them again. And it became a great joy for us to be able to do this show. It's called Staged, if you've not seen it.
We know.
I don't know, how do you get it? Is it BBC America over here, or is it Hulu over here?
YouTube.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Wait. Oh, Redbox? It's on Redbox as well?
Redbox.
Okay.
Redbox. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it depends on when you've watched it, on where it is.
Yeah. It's worth the price of a subscription alone, I would say.
You are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. But that is the end of my questions, but we have some fan questions.
Oh, very good.
That were submitted. Hopefully some folks are in the audience here. Kayla from Cleveland. Is Kayla in the room? Do we have a Kayla in the room?
Just say
There is a Kayla in the room. We're gonna claim it.
It may not be the right
Might
Kayla,
not be
but
the right Kayla, but whatever. Okay, that's she said, I'm your Kayla now. Okay, so the question is, what was the most emotionally challenging scene for you to film as the Doctor, and how did that moment impact your understanding of the character? Way to do it, Kayla. The whole room just turned on you, Kayla.
yeah. I mean, there were a few.
Yes.
Obviously, there were a few. Bad Wolf Bay when Rose says, I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot. One of the most difficult ones to shoot, actually, because we shot that first season out of sequence.
Okay.
And the last thing we did was the very end of Satan Pit. If anyone remembers that. And then that episode ends with the Doctor and Rose flying away, and it was the last scene that Billy and I shot together.
Right.
And it'd been a big old thing, coming into that show, and she'd obviously been part of it already. We'd already filmed her farewell scene. We filmed this episode out of order. And the last thing that happens is we're on an intercom to the base, and someone says, where are you two? And we say, the stuff of legends. And pull a big lever out. And that was the last thing we shot together.
Wow.
And that was quite emotional,
Absolutely.
just that moment, because I knew that I was staying, Billy was going, and she'd been such a sort of significant part of joining this big machine of a show.
Yeah.
And she, held my hand all the way. So to know that I was going to be shooting it without her felt like a lot. I was before I met Freema, before I knew what was going to happen next. So that was quite tough. And then I guess at the other end of it, sort of saying goodbye to it and saying that moment when the doctor wakes up and he hears.
You just broke this whole side of the room right there. Like,
Yeah.
you just broke it.
And just that moment when he realizes that Wilf is in the box, and that's what the knocking was all the time. That's where Russell T Davies is brilliant. I mean, that's
Genius,
when
absolutely.
and I still think I go, did you always know that's what the knock was going to be?
Right?
Because it was also in the master's head, but it was he will knock 4 times, and what was all that? And but it's like, the way he would sort of bring a bit of story around and make it would go from the sort of universal to the entirely mundane. It was an old man in a box going,
Oh,
brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
amazing.
Yeah.
This next one is from Faith from Cleveland. Is Faith in the room? Faith S? Yay! So Faith wants to know, what's your favorite American food, snack, or restaurant that you must have when you are in the States?
Oh, good question. It's probably, and you can get these in the UK now.
Okay.
So it's not impossible, but I do love anything that Reese's make with peanut butter. The way you guys mainline peanut butter as one of the kind of standard flavors in life.
That's right.
There's sort of sweet, salt, sour, and peanut butter.
Yes.
That's it. And I am here for that. And we're beginning to do it in the UK. We've kind of got that it's quite a good thing. But there's something about, and if you take some peanut butter and you wrap it in chocolate, I'm yours.
I mean, I don't think you really wanted to tell this crowd that. 'Cause every show that you're at, you're going to be inundated.
I do love
He
it.
said, bring it. Bring it on.
Bring it on, the peanut butter enrobed in chocolate.
Ensconced, y'all.
Ensconce it.
Yes.
And it might be that there are better versions than Reese's. I mean, other peanut butter snacks are available. Because the chocolate that Reese's use, I mean, it's not classical sort of Belgian chocolate.
Well, no. I think it's from Pennsylvania. Like, it's not even like...
It may not even be chocolate.
Well, it's
Chocolate. Chocolate.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I was about to bring that up too. So you have to try a Buckeye.
Sounds like a disease. A little bit of Buckeye. I can't sit down at the moment.
Let me just describe this. It is a nugget of peanut butter, right?
Okay, I'm with you so far.
Right? Then it's dipped ever so delicately into chocolate so that it covers almost like an egg.
Oh yeah.
But just the grain of peanut butter is still available for you to just tantalize over.
Oh my God. Just talk me through it again.
A nice, thick, round, bulbous dollop.
Bulbous
Dollop of peanut butter.
Yeah.
Very erotically dipped into a cascading
Flow.
of chocolate.
And my flow is cascading.
Just enough
Yeah.
to leave. Oh, this is so bad. The head of peanut butter exposed to tease and
It's
tantalize.
got an exposed head. It's quite hard to picture. What shape is it?
It is
Like a chestnut.
Okay, Okay, so we actually have Buckeyes here. Like it's a nut for a tree that is the state tree of Ohio.
Okay.
And we literally made sweets to look
To
like
look
it
like
because the nut itself is poisonous. Don't eat an actual. Go for the candy.
Or you will have a dose of the Buckeye.
You will definitely
Yes.
have the Buckeye. Oh, I've got the Buckeye.
Yeah,
Don't do it
okay.
to yourself.
I'm going to try and find one of these.
Done and done. I guarantee
Before I leave.
you. That's amazing.
Right, it's all getting, I don't know what's been shouted.
Yeah, I was going to say, write it down
Everyone's getting very excited.
and
about the
give it to a
Buckeye.
crew member. We'll get it to him.
Go to Mally's!
Wow. Do you work there? I feel like...
No, I'm just a teacher. I'm really loud.
All right, couple more.
Okay.
So this one is from Angela from Alliance, Ohio. What role have you never played but really want to?
It's very hard to imagine until someone writes a script.
That's fair.
Because I might say, I've never played a dentist.
Right.
It's my dream to play a dentist. And then the script arrives,
Right.
and the dentist part is rubbish. So I'm not going to commit
That's fair.
to wanting to play a dentist.
Okay.
However,
Yes.
should someone write the greatest script ever, which happens to have an excellent role for a dentist in it, I am there.
It's called Little Shop of Horrors.
I mean, I've worked
You
dentist as
did.
a random
I'm just
example.
saying, like, out of
Do you know, I would like, and if I could sing better. No, I mean, if I was one of those people who could really sing, you know, like when a voice comes from your feet. Those people who you go and see them in a musical and they make your spine explode.
Of course.
I am not one of those people. Thank you for
No.
saying so. No, those people who can really. I mean, I can hold a tune, but those people who can sing. I'd like to be able to. If I could do that.
Yes.
Seymour Little Shop of Horrors would have been my dream.
You seeing Sunday Seymour just made my whole heart smile. Okay, all right.
I do sing it in the shower.
We're gonna need you to zoom
I sing
that.
Audrey
Yes.
as well.
We're gonna need you to
I
zoom
can
that.
harmonize
Yeah.
with myself.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, two more. We have from Kyle M from New York. Is Kyle here? Did Kyle make the trip? Okay, we'll take that.
I think that was a whoop from
It sounds
Kyle.
like it. Between TV, film, and theater, you've done it all. Do you approach performing differently depending on the medium?
You approach performing differently depending on the script,
Right.
depending on what is required, because some things have a certain heightened quality, some things are sort of brutally naturalistic. Obviously in theatre, there's an element of kind of projecting to hit a back
Right.
wall. There's a slightly different, and also, but the bigger difference is, if you're doing a play, you rehearse for 4 weeks, with a view to repeating it
Right.
multiple times and doing the same thing multiple times. Whereas with something that you're filming, you often won't rehearse at all, or you'll rehearse very briefly. Maybe sometimes you'll rehearse a little bit, but you turn up on the day not quite knowing how it's going to go, and quite knowing how you'll react to the way somebody else plays it. And really, it's about getting it one time. It's about getting that one take that is magical and that lives and that has a reality to it, and then you never have to do it again if you get that one take.
Right.
So that's the biggest difference, and that's the biggest difference in approach, I think, as well.
I think that's brilliant because what it shows is how theater allows for you to take a performance and evolve it over every single time that you play it, and film, you lock it in and then it's done.
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like that. Last question. This one's from, I know, right? So sad. He's got children. We gotta let him go. This one's from Brittany G from Fort Worth, Texas. Did Brittany come up here? Yeah. Okay. Because Brittany's
Not the voice I was expecting to
No. That's how it sounds in Texas. Brittany's hardcore in Texas. If the doctor showed up right now and offered to take you anywhere in time and space, where would you go?
Do you have an answer for this?
Yes.
Does everyone have an answer in their pocket
I
for this?
think we all have an answer. I think right now we definitely have an answer.
What's your one?
In the shower with you to hear you sing. Keep the curtain closed. We just just want to hear you sing. That's it.
You'd have to do the Audrey part. Okay. This is a question one gets asked.
Of course.
I have two answers.
Okay.
One, and they're both quite similar. They're both about, because I get sort of fascinated with things that become cultural kind of fixed points in our culture.
Okay.
And you think that have defined how art, music, whatever it is, has developed. And you think, in the moment when they first arrived, could you see it? Could you see that thing that happened was going to, it's a bit sliding doors.
Yeah.
Could that, so if you went back to the Cavern Club
Right.
in the late 50s and saw the Beatles perform for the first time, would you go, oh, I've just seen something that's going to change the world?
Right.
Would it be evident?
Right.
Or would they be a bit out of tune and still practicing? I'd like to go there. I'd like to, and the same would be to go back to see the first ever performance of Hamlet. Wow. To see it done for the first time, to see Richard Burbage, to see Shakespeare's play, to kind of go, would you be able, were the people there aware that they were witnessing something that would define the culture of the world going forward, that would define what language became, that would define what theatre became, that would define so much about the way we think about psychology, and all sorts of things have come from that play.
Yeah.
Would you have known in that moment? Or would everyone have just been going around going, I want a chalk ice, I want to, I'm just nipping to the loo, tell me what happened. Or would it have felt like a big, so I'm sort of fascinated by those moments.
I do believe in this moment you have proven to all of us that you truly are the 10th Doctor. Because that is on-point thing to say. To capture that wonder, that sense of discovery, it's everything, and it shows in all that you do. David, thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you.